Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our webinar today. So I'm Akash. I work as a pre-sales engineer for Zoho Books for the Middle East and Northern African region. So today's session will be mainly covering more about the e-invoicing phase 2, which is implemented in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So I'll just start sharing my screen here. Just give me a moment. So to jump onto the session, we'll first talk about the agenda for today's session. So we'll be first starting off with the basics of e-invoicing, followed by the timeline for e-invoicing, and we'll be discussing more about the regulations and the benefits of e-invoicing. And we'll also be covering the mandatory fields for the e-invoices, which has to be present in the e-invoice. And more importantly, we'll be covering on how Zoho Books can be helpful for your business and how you can be compliant as per the ZATCA's compliance, starting with the basics of e-invoicing. So the e-invoicing basically replaces the physical paper invoices. So the electronically generated invoices will have a QR code in it, which is in a digital format, and it is being electronically stored in your system. So there are basically two types of e-invoices. One would be the standard tax invoice for the VAT registered businesses, and another one would be the simplified tax invoice, which would mainly be for the non-VAT or the business to consumer transaction. And another important point is to be in compliance with the ZATCA's regulations. So non-compliance with the ZATCA's regulation may result in heavy penalties by the tax authorities. And another important point is for you to have a compliant accounting software, which is accredited by the ZATCA in order to generate these e-invoices as per the format mentioned by the ZATCA. So moving on, we'll discuss on who is mainly getting affected by the e-invoicing which is implemented. So e-invoicing is basically applicable to all the VAT registered business owners in the KSA, and the businesses, like the transactions that happen within Saudi and outside the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And it is also applicable to all taxable goods and services subjected to VAT, and to business or business to government, and to business to consumer transactions. So yeah, these are the mainly for the people who are getting the e-invoicing affected by. And now moving on to the next section, which will be the timeline for the e-invoicing. So basically the e-invoicing was implemented in multiple phases. So the first phase was more about a generation phase. So the first phase was implemented on the 4th of December of 2021. So the main requirement by the tax authority under the first phase was to have to keep a record of the invoices in an electronic format, and in a format which was mentioned by the tax authority, by the ZATCA's compliance. So that was one of the requirements as per the phase 1. So when we talk about the phase 2 integration, it is more about the integration and the validation of the invoices with the ZATCA portal. So this is mainly subjected to the businesses which has a revenue of more than 3 billion Saudi riyals. So the main requirement here is that you will have to integrate your e-invoicing solution with the ZATCA's portal, so that the invoices are being directly validated with the ZATCA's portal. So now moving on, we'll discuss more about the phase 2 e-invoicing regulations and how that works in the system. So as I mentioned earlier, the phase 2 requires integration with the ZATCA's portal. So the invoices has to be generated in a specific format, which is basically a bilingual template, which has both English and Arabic fields in it. And it also has some additional mandatory fields, which has to be present in the invoice in order to get it pushed to the Fatura portal. And as per the latest guidelines of ZATCA, the third wave targets taxpayers with revenues subjected to VAT over 250 million in 2021 or 2022. So the VAT taxpayers meeting this particular criteria must integrate their accounting solution with the Fatura portal from October 1st of 2023. So this was something which was recently announced by the ZATCA. So now we will discuss on how you can establish the connection between your e-invoicing solution and the Fatura portal. So firstly, you will be required to integrate with the Fatura portal. So you will have to log into the ZATCA's website and into the Fatura portal using your credentials. So once you have logged in, you will then get an option to onboard a new solution unit or device. So from here, you will be able to enter the number of devices that you would like to integrate to. And once done, you will get an option where you can have an OTP generated in the Fatura portal. So you can simply copy paste this OTP in the e-invoicing solution, which will then generate a CSID, which is a cryptographic stamp identifier. So by doing this, the integration with the Fatura portal will be successful with the e-invoicing solution. So now we will discuss on more on how the e-invoicing workflow is for a business. So firstly, the seller generates an e-invoice from their e-invoicing solution provider. So then the e-invoice is being pushed to the Fatura portal. So they'll get an option to push these invoices to the Fatura portal. So once pushed and once it is validated, a UUID is being generated with an invoice hash from the Fatura portal, and a QR code is also being generated with all the necessary fields. So the invoice is being reflected back to the portal, back to your invoicing system. Then it can be shared to your customer. So that's only when the invoice can be shared once the validation is done. So now the buyer will be able to scan this particular QR code, which is present in the invoice, using a toolkit which can be downloaded. So it's an SDK toolkit, so which is available to be downloaded from the app store or the Play Store. So this is the case with the standard tax invoices. So when we talk about the simplified tax invoices, you can have the invoices shared with the buyer, but however, you will have to report these invoices with the ZATCA within 24 hours of generation. So that is the requirement when it comes to the simplified tax invoices. And also the generated invoices are then stored and archived in the invoicing solution in an XML format, which is as per the format mentioned by the ZATCA. So that's basically how the workflow of the phase 2 of e-invoicing works. So now, yeah, there are a few mandatory fields which has to be present in an invoice, in an e-invoice. So as you can see, if you look at the organization details, such as which will be the seller details, like the organization name, the company address, the billing number, the street, additional numbers, etc. So unless like if there are any irregularities, or if any of these fields are being missed out, the invoice is not being validated successfully at the Fatura portal. So you will have to again re-enter these details to make sure that the invoice is successfully being pushed to the Fatura portal. And yeah, in order to create an invoice, it is also mandatory to mention your item details, such as your item name and the customer's name, in both English and Arabic. So we have a bilingual template where both the details are being displayed in the respective fields. And yeah, when it comes to the sellers, the buyer's details, the customer's details, you can have the following customer's details, which is also mandatory as per the ZATCA's guidelines, such as the display name, the billing address, the country or the region address, additional numbers, etc. So these are the mandatory fields which has to be present in an e-invoice in order to have it pushed to the Fatura portal. So now we'll discuss on how you can prepare in order to be compliant with the regulations set by the ZATCA. So the first and the important point would be to choose a compliant e-invoicing system which is approved by the Zakat Tax and Customs Authority in order to generate the e-invoice as per the mentioned format. And another important point is to train your staff, your invoicing staff especially. So they should have a knowledge on how the invoices can be generated and how it can be pushed to the Fatura portal. And another requirement would be to educate your technical experts on the technical and the security requirements as mentioned by the ZATCA. So these are the few points kept in mind when you are moving on to a new system. So yeah, benefits of e-invoicing. So the main benefits of e-invoicing, basically it will help you in streamlining the invoicing process. It will reduce the errors, and it will basically increase the efficiency of the transactions and the workflow of the transactions. So that's basically the benefits of the e-invoicing solution. And yeah, now I would like to give you an understanding on how Zoho Books helps in uh, being compliant with these regulations set by the ZATCA. So Zoho has been announced officially as a qualified e-invoicing solution provider as uh, by the ZATCA, and Zoho Books is more than an e-invoicing solution provider. It is an complete accounting package which will allow you to create your sales transactions, purchase transactions, your bank reconciliations, and managing your inventory, such as the accounting stock, etc. And based on these transactions, the reports are being updated accordingly in your system. So now I would like to give a quick overview on what was covered as a part of phase one on Zoho Books, on what all features were implemented. So I'll just show you a quick demo in here. So yeah, this is the dashboard section of Zoho Books. So here you will first need to have your tax setup done. So you can head to your settings option and taxes, where you can have your VAT details mentioned, such as your tax registration number, the date on which you are registered for VAT, and from when you would like to generate your reports. So based on these details, the tax rates would be automatically populated. The present rates in the Saudi tax regime would be automatically populated. So once the tax is set up, the e-invoicing feature is also being automatically enabled, which can be reconfirmed under the settings option. So now once the e-invoicing is being enabled, under the template section, you can have your template set up. So by default, we have a set of 21 templates. Other than this, we also have the templates which is specified by the ZATCA, as per the format specified by the ZATCA. The standard e-invoicing template, bilingual template, which will have both English and Arabic fields in it, and the simplified e-invoicing template. So these are the two templates which is as per the ZATCA's format. And now moving on, so I'll just show you a quick transaction on how the workflow is. So basically, you can have an invoice created from the system where you can have the customer details selected based on which all the details are being populated. So yeah, from the system, you can choose to either save as draft or save and send. So I'm just saving this as draft for now. And so the invoice is being generated in the format as per mentioned by the ZATCA. So the fields are being populated on the respective sections, like the English and the Arabic fields. And the accounting entries are also being posted immediately based on the invoice that is created. So now, as you have created the invoice and you have marked this as sent, now in order to, so you won't be getting an option to delete or edit this invoice. So again, if when you try editing this particular invoice, let's say I'll try changing the values, the rates for it. So an error is automatically being thrown by the system in this case. So it is mandatory that you will have to either create a debit or a credit note in order to make any sort of changes to these invoices. So you can directly create a credit note or a debit note from this particular section where all the associated invoice details are automatically being populated. So yeah, this was one of the main features which was specified under ZATCA's guidelines for the phase one. And yeah, we do have other features like where like you can restrict the users. from viewing all the data. So basically, you can invite your users, and you can have custom roles created in order to restrict the other users from viewing all the data. So you can basically decide like what a particular user has to view and what they should create in the system. So you can have customized roles created in the system, which can be saved under here, and it can be then assigned to the users that are being added back then. So that is one of the features which was mentioned under the ZATCA compliance in order to have a user-based restriction. And another important feature would be the audit trails. So the system should have the ability to view the previous versions of a transaction, so which is available under the activity logs and audit trail. So this will give you a clear idea on what all actions or activities are being performed by the users with all the details such as the date and the time. And if there are multiple versions of it, you can just view and compare these two versions based on the requirement. So yeah, these are the features which is already being handled on Zoho Books as per the phase one's regulations. So now, yeah, going back to the presentation. So yeah, talking more about Zoho Books. So other than the e-invoicing part, we are quite compliant with the VAT guidelines of the Saudi VAT authority. So we have been updating our system regularly based on the changes. So starting from the 5% VAT, so now it is the 15% VAT. So based on the changes done by the tax authorities, we keep it updated in our systems as well. And yeah, you can have your bank reconciliations done seamlessly. So basically, you can have your bank statements added based on which you can simply choose to categorize or match these transactions. And using transaction rules, you are also able to easily allocate these transactions to a particular chart of account. And then we have features like the purchase management, where you can manage your purchase transactions. And we do have a basic inventory tracking feature available within Zoho Books, which will track your accounting stock. And if you're looking for some advanced inventory tracking feature, we also have Zoho Inventory for warehouse management or more advanced inventory tracking features, which can be integrated with Zoho Books. And yeah, another important feature included in Zoho Books would be the projects and the timesheets. So if you would like to calculate the profitability which is being incurred for a particular project, so we can have that done using the projects and timesheets. And yeah, based on the transactions that you record, these reports are regularly being updated. And we do have a report, VAT filing report, which is as per the Saudi VAT authorities format. So you can simply generate a report based on the transactions that you create, and you can have that submitted for the VAT filing purpose in the ZATCA portal. So that would be the main highlighting features of Zoho Books. So yeah, how Zoho Books can help you in this case. So this is basically a one-time setup. So it's quite easy. So you can just easily do your setup in this Zoho Books system. And you can, as discussed earlier, you will be able to curb the unauthorized access. So you can actually decide, you can send out invites to the users that you'd like to have access to the system. So they will have their own login credentials to log in. And you can also set up two-factor authentication to make sure that the right person is logging in to their account. And yeah, as we have discussed, creating and managing the e-invoices and their associated notes, that is something which is already covered. And then you can also protect and store your transactions and the records present in the system. So protect in the sense that it's about the data security, and you are also able to like log the transactions or log the modules. So let's say if the VAT filing is done for a particular period, you are able to log that particular period so that there are no changes being done by any other users for that particular module.